Welcome back to another episode of the Erin Coupe Podcast, where we dive deep into personal fulfillment and deeper human connection. I am your host, Erin Coupe, and today we're going to talk about something that hits close to home for many of us. When we find ourselves in toxic work environments, especially those led by disingenuous leaders. I have personally experienced the damaging effects of being in a work environment where fear, manipulation, and intimidation ruled the day. I want to share my story not only to help you recognize similar patterns in your own life, but also to give you actionable steps to address these challenges head on. This episode is for anyone who's ever felt mistreated, micromanaged, or manipulated, or even undermined by a leader. It's not even just leaders, though. I would say this is with anyone in your life. This could happen in other relationships, like your friendship circles or even your own family. Let's dive in. Let me take you back to my time on Wall Street, a place synonymous with success and prestige, high pressure environments, and high stakes. I was recruited by Goldman Sachs, and out of the 14 people, yes, 14, that interviewed me, 13 gave me glowing remarks. But there was one person who did not want to hire me, my future boss. From day one, I could feel her resentment, whether it was my youth, my intelligence, my work ethic, something about me triggered her personally. Notice I say personally, not professionally. She made my life incredibly difficult, and I found myself trying my hardest day after day to win her approval. It was a grueling experience and something I dealt with high stress, high anxiety for many years because I just wanted to win her over. I wanted that relationship with her to be a positive one for both of us. I poured myself into building a relationship with her, but nothing I did seemed to work. This is where I came face to face with the reality of old school leadership, authoritative leadership, the kind that uses fear and intimidation and manipulation to control other people. It was a form of rite of passage in her eyes, but to me, it was toxic and draining. She certainly had no right to treat me the way that she was treated as a younger woman coming up in corporate America. The old school leadership style that I'm describing and I experienced on Wall Street was about instilling fear and control to keep employees in line through intimidation. The more scared I was about potentially losing my job, or the more scared I was about being in the bottom 10% and being fired, the more easily I was to control and to manipulate. And not just me, this was all of my peers. My boss wasn't interested in leading through trust or inspiration. She didn't want to intrinsically motivate me. She thrived on power or a false identification with power. And this wasn't just my experience. I've seen this happen to so many people in various industries. But that's not what leadership should look like, especially today. In contrast, modern leadership is rooted in clear communication. It's about conscious behaviors, compassion, empathy, and emotional intelligence. These qualities are not signs of weakness. They are the strengths of any effective leader in today's world. Compassionate leaders inspire loyalty. They foster creativity and they build authentic relationships with their teams. Fear-based leadership is disingenuous. It doesn't build trust. It doesn't foster creativity, and it certainly doesn't motivate people to do their best work. Instead, it drives people out of companies. You've heard that saying that people leave toxic leaders, they leave bad managers and terrible bosses. They don't usually leave companies for the sake of just saying goodbye to the company. It's the people that they walk away from. So here's the thing. Disingenuous leadership has some key red flags. You've probably experienced them before, whether you've realized it or not. First, there's often a huge gap between what these types of people say and what they actually do. Their words usually don't match their actions, and their actions and true intentions don't align. This is something that you sense. You can feel it. And your gut instincts or your intuition, they're going to tell you to put your guard up. They're going to tell you to kind of raise your antenna and to watch out for yourself. An example of this, have you ever had a boss that acts overly nice 1 minute, but you can just tell or you can sense that something is off, that they're not being true or authentic? That's a sign of disingenuous behavior. They may say they're supportive 1 minute, but then their actions another minute show that they're only interested in self-preservation or in maintaining control. The second red flag is intimidation tactics. If your boss or a leader in your organization is more focused on controlling you through fear or scaring you into doing something or to doing it in the way they need it done and not allowing you to grow through the process, they're not fostering your growth. They're just controlling the outcomes through you. That's another sign. This was exactly the situation I found myself in on Wall Street. Third, unwillingness to have open conversations. If you call someone on their bad behaviors and you ask them to be more transparent about what's really going on, their response or lack thereof can reveal their true intentions. And lastly, disingenuous leaders rarely create authentic connections. My boss never tried to build a real relationship with me. I was providing value to the team, but to her, I was more of a threat than an asset. Her approach was rooted in insecurity, and rather than recognizing my contributions, she questioned my motives and tried to tear me down. The key here is to watch for behaviors that feel inauthentic to you, behaviors that lack empathy and are focused on control rather than building genuine, trustworthy relationships. Addressing these issues directly can help uncover the underlying nature of your boss's actions or any leader's actions in your organization who you interact with. So, what do you do in these situations? The first step is simple, but not easy. You have to stand up for yourself, advocate for you, and don't let someone else's insecurities dictate your path. If something feels off, call it out, address it head on. When you're being treated unfairly, go directly to the person that is treating you that way and ask them questions. Be curious on why they're behaving that way. Challenge those behaviors and see how they respond. At the very least, you have new information on which you can make some sort of decision from. In my case, on Wall Street, it took me 3.5 years to finally remove myself from the toxic situation. During that time, my physical and mental health suffered tremendously. I had visceral reactions to it. I don't want anyone else to go through this same thing. So if you find yourself in a toxic environment and you've tried everything, it may be time to consider a transfer or even leaving the company entirely. Disingenuous leadership is harmful, but it doesn't have to be your reality. By standing up for yourself, challenging unfair treatment, and making informed decisions, you can protect your well-being and thrive in a work environment that values authenticity, empathy, and respect. Thank you for joining me on today's episode of the Erin Coupe Podcast. If this resonated with you, or if you're currently navigating a tough work environment or know someone who is, please share this with them, and I encourage you or them to take these steps. You can stay true to who you are in both your personal and professional life and still thrive. Ignoring yourself is never the right answer. Stay authentic, be empowered, and most of all, take care of you. Remember, the meaning you seek, the answers you yearn for, they often lie within. I encourage you to follow me at erincoupe.com or AuthenticallyEC on Instagram. Subscribe now so you don't miss a step of our journey together. Until next time, manifest great things.